unverifiable voting in 2000.
Like you said to Trump, but they're getting beauty.
They said, go out there and rob these houses and bring back the bounty, and then that'll pay your way.
Because Republicans who get endorsement from Georgia carry that they mean anything.
You can't sit on the sidelines any longer. You must get involved in the game. This is your sign. All right, everybody, welcome to Small Town Underground, this special early edition live stream on Wednesday, October the 2nd. Bear with us as we were supposed to go on at 7 o'clock, and wouldn't you know it, technical difficulties always intervene. So we're going to get right before that we get into everything. I want to remind everybody I didn't get the flyer up at the Haywood Valley camping event this Friday for one night only down on Haywood Valley Road. Our band's going to be playing. We're going to have a bunch of cool stuff, food, drinks. You can tent camp. I'm going to be doing just a small special live stream about that tomorrow. I know that JD Vance is coming to Lindale, Georgia. So I've talked to several people that are coming out to this event at Jerry's. I'm going to be there. I'm going to be tent camping, spending the night, having a great time. So just be looking out for that. That'll be tomorrow evening. And we did get our other studio room set up. I've already completed 2 out of 3 interviews for people that are running for a school board position. I cannot wait to release them this weekend because the room looks great, and we're going to have more people coming in for a sit-down conversation. All right, so we're gonna jump into this tonight. So I have 2 very special guests tonight. We were hoping that we could get Bob Couvert on, but he wasn't able to be with us this evening. So we have Kim Brooks and Lori Tullos. Before I let you guys talk, I want to say this is sort of what I consider the addendum to the War Room Gwinnett County from last week with Antonio Jones. Was an absolutely explosive interview with a bunch of great information. And each day that things come out, I know a lot of people I've spoke to watched the DeKalb County court hearing on Monday, which was more explosive information come out. And so we're going to add to that and really break down the mystery flash drive. So, Kim, I'm going to let you start. You tell our audience who you are, and then we'll move along to you, Lori.
So I'm Kim Brooks of the Georgia Nerds, and I'm a data analyst that's been working for over 3 years for free for love of God and country. and I'm an expert in Georgia Secretary of State files. And there's probably about 5 different kinds that we combine, analyze. I work with a team, and we've published in a couple of different places some data that we're going to talk about today. But when we publish the data, we say, don't believe us about the fraud. We'll show you the fraud. And that's what we do.
All right. Sounds good. Lori, just give our audience who you are and what you're doing.
My name is Lori Tullos, and I am a 27-year retired finance director. I have been doing research and analysis into Georgia and federal election law and voting machine law and Georgia and U.S. constitutions for the past 3 years. We filed lawsuits that ended up being dismissed in Georgia for sovereign immunity, which is unconstitutional. But we appealed that case, or we did a writ of certiorari to the U.S. Supreme Court. So all of the evidence that we're going to go over tonight actually is public record. Anybody can go into the lawsuits. The case numbers are published. Kim can go over how people can access a thumb drive later, but all of the documentation was submitted as evidence and exhibits into those lawsuits, and the Georgia Nerds actually filed an amicus brief into that U.S. Supreme Court case, and the U.S. Supreme Court chose not to pick the case up, but they gave us no reason. They just chose not to pick it up. So
really, is this the recent one that you guys were talking about this past week?
No.
Okay.
No.
She's talking about the United States Supreme Court. That was
Really?
our
That's
first
right.
meeting.
No kidding.
Yes.
What was their reasoning behind that?
They gave no reasoning for not picking up the writ.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, they gave no reason. Though I have heard that when they don't give a reason for not picking up a writ of certiorari, they have the option of picking it up at a later date.
Okay.
So at least that's what I'm hearing from some attorneys that are actually U.S. Supreme Court attorneys. You know, you have to get a special dispensation to be able to try a case in the U.S. Supreme Court. So,
Okay.
Yeah, that's what I'm hearing. That's exciting. I hope at some point it does get picked up.
Absolutely.
But all of the evidence that we have, the Georgia Nerds evidence and our evidence as far as open records requests, emails from open records requests, or research where we've just gone into either the Secretary of State's website or some other government website and pulled in all that documentation. It is, like I said, it's all been filed into our court cases, so it's public record.
Mhm.
And none of the defendants in those cases actually filed any dispute to any of the evidence. So therefore they stand as fact, and they will stand up to Georgia and federal rules of evidence.
Wow. Okay. Now, how long would you say that you guys been working on all this? I mean, it's been,
Oh my gosh.
yeah, this has been kind of years in the making, hasn't it?
Yes.
And then you look at where we're at in 2024 and the grassroots movement out there. I mean, it's astounding to me. And then before we get into all this, but like something like the DeKalb case, that information has been around for quite a while. And here we are with yet another judge waiting to make another judgment on a case that is clearly has these evidence, just like so many of the items has been presented in our state election boards. I mean, can I just ask, because you two are on the front lines with a lot of other people, and we've talked to Voter Georgia and Georgia for Truth, all these people that are fighting. I mean, is it amazing to you how little that our representatives and our elected officials care about this stuff? I mean, like, how can anybody deny this stuff?
No, it's not amazing to me.
Wow.
So I've given tons of evidence to Steve Gooch in January of this year. And so he likes to say he never has any evidence. Well, we'll talk about our book tonight, which is the thumb drive.
Yes.
We've mailed to 250 who's who that influence or run elections in our state. They can no longer say they have no evidence.
Right.
We're tired of hearing that.
I hear you. I'll tell you, before, I think, Kim, I met you on the first time there back in January during the start of the legislative session. Didn't have a clue what I was doing. Went out to Liberty Plaza, just started filming, and then I'm like, put me in a group. And we went to all these different floors with people like Stacey Doran and different people, and it was amazing to go in these offices and talk. And I thought, well, I'm going to capture this. But we literally got stopped by one guy we were talking to who looked over and was like, I just want to know who y'all work for. And we were like, what? And they're like, well, yeah, who funds you guys? Who do y'all work for? And we're like, we don't work for anybody. Well, somebody's got to pay for those signs. Somebody's got to. And I was like, dude, I was off today. So I decided to drive down here and see what was going on. Like, that's the mentality. They think that we're all bought and paid, and we've got some conspiracy behind us about all this. But it's been astonishing to see and hear all of the evidence has come out. Georgia really is kind of the epicenter of all of this. So,
Yes.
gosh.
Well, and who do you work for and who pays for this stuff? We pay for this stuff out of our pockets.
Yes.
So we've laid out thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars in open records requests and voter registration documentation, and also for court cases. We've filed all of our court cases up until recently pro se. So we've paid for all of those filing fees and the process of service fees. And then for the appeals, they charge you $1 per page to electronically transmit all of your documentation that was filed into a lawsuit up to the next higher court. They charge you $1 per page for that, for them to do nothing but select all and send. I mean, it's an electronic transfer and they charge you $1 per page. So, which is ridiculous since we already pay for our courts, right? The taxpayers pay for the courts. We pay for the judge. We pay for the courts. We pay for the clerk. We pay for it all. We pay for the damn light bill at the courthouse.
Right on. Yeah, it is wild.
I don't think people who file pro se should have to pay any fees.
Yeah, and I'm going to tell y'all, if I was getting paid, we would have started the show at 7:00. So there you go.
There you go.
So anything to add before we jump in? And like I said, I've got this pulled up here. I want to educate our audience on what you all have sent to everybody, what we can see, what they can see. Well, let's do the highlights. And Kim, you got anything to add?
No, I just request. I have a funny way to cover Coovert's piece since he's not feeling well tonight. It's very pertinent this week, so I want to start with Coovert's work.
Sure. Well, you ladies just tell me where we need to start, and hopefully, it looks like we might have lost Lori for a second, but she'll be able to jump back in. So
I think I froze. Did I freeze?
You're good right now. I can see you. So
okay.
Right. So where do you want to start at?
So in the thumb drive, let's talk about what's in the thumb drive. There's 3 tabs. The thumb drive, first off, you can go to our Gibson.
Yeah, we can see
our
you.
Gibson Go link, and for a minimum $10 donation, that just covers our costs. If you want to donate a little more, that'd be welcome as well. But if you send on our Gibson Go link, and you can find that at the GA Nerds _real on Twitter. We pin the Gibson Go at the top. The money goes to all 3 groups. The 3 groups is Helen Strahl and I of the Georgia Nerds, Coovert, and Lori. And it goes towards things that Lori's already outlined. So to get the thumb drive, you can go on Gibson Go, that link, and put in your address and everything and donate. Like I said, a minimum $10 donation, and we'll send you a thumb drive. Now, that thumb drive is what we published as a book, a spiral bound book. and it's significant. It's 207 pages, and we have served the governor, the state election board, all members, the Senate Judiciary Committee, the Senate Ethics Committee, the House Ethics Committee, all 159 election officials, several DAs, several sheriffs, and the commissioner of the Department of Driver Services.
Wow.
He should have gotten 5 copies. Oh, and then the executive leadership of the nasty Georgia GOP, they all got a copy.
Wow.
And
Okay.
so no one
So the
can
GOP
say
got
they
it.
don't know.
Wow. Okay.
And the reason I didn't list Raffensperger and Carr is because in the United States Supreme Court, we had already given them the evidence. So
Yeah. Gotcha. That's pretty amazing that you sent this out. It really is.
yeah. And so it's in 3 tabs, and tab 3 is Covert. And I just want to go over Coverts today.
Sure.
Because
I'm going to pull this up
first,
on tab 3, right?
yes.
All right. So we're gonna pull this up so we can show everybody exactly what it is. So here is the main letter here, and I'm gonna be able to scroll down it. This is the one, right? Crimes Against Citizens of Georgia by Robert Covert and Carol Chamberlain, right? Okay. Go ahead.
Carol Chamberlain. Yes. So they're the Mountain Patriots up there in Fannin, and they're fierce. I love the Mountain Patriot group. So Bob is known for categorizing the lies under oath that Brad Raffensperger has said. And he's found all kind of false statements in documents to Congress, to Vice President Pence, on his website, and to the people of Georgia in interviews, and under oath in various court cases. So that is Bob's angle of evidence. Between the 3 of us, is bad. And we don't even have Clay Parikh stuff.
Right. Wow.
You throw Clay Parikh and Ben Cotton and Jeff Fulgerman,
Wow.
it's
Yes.
over. Okay, so back to Bob. So Bob proved without a shadow of a doubt that the pro VMV audit that occurred in 2020 never occurred. So the reason I wanted to talk about Bob first. So to back up, the Secretary of State has said on multitude of occasions and under oath in multiple court cases and legislation made law based on it, and in the letter to Vice President Pence, I believe, that he did a machine audit after the 2020 election, and Pro VMV was the company that did the machine audit. The audit was a 6-county audit, and in the press release and on the website for Brad Raffensperger, Secretary of State website, it lists the 6 counties. It's like Cobb and Spalding and Paulding and Morgan, and there's 6 of them. Okay, so Bob proved via open records request that the Secretary of State never even showed up at their office. Never even, they called 1 out of the 5, but they didn't show up at any of the 6. So it literally didn't occur.
Wow.
So Bob is meeting with legislators, and he meets with Steve Gooch, who is the state senator for the Fannin group. They met with Steve Gooch. He says, this isn't anything for me. You need to talk to the governor. So he gave him the governor's cell phone number. So Bob contacted the governor, and the governor did respond to him pretty quickly. And he assigned him to talk to his special investigative group. Like, I guess the governor's got a special group. So they looked at Bob's evidence, and they said, this is like prosecution. We don't prosecute out of our group. So you need to talk to the Inspector General's office. So he starts working with the Inspector General. How am I doing, Lori? Am I doing good?
You're doing good.
Okay, I love this story. Okay, so he starts working with the inspector general, and the inspector general's calling him all the time, and he's calling him back, and they're working together. And the inspector general says, "You got 28 allegations here, but I'm only going to work on one." And Bob's like, "Why only one? But okay." And it happened to be the pro VMV audit. Okay. And so Bob gave him all the evidence. He had all the evidence that clearly shows the audit never occurred. For example, the elections office will say, they did not call, they did not come, we did not have an audit. And then they backed it up and they came again and said, tell me the serial numbers of the machines that were touched. No machines were touched because there was no audit. So it's like a triple verify that no audit occurred. All right, so the inspector general, all of a sudden the inspector general went dark and he wouldn't respond to Bob. And Bob said he had been calling me all the time, asking me questions.
Right. He got his marching orders, huh?
Do you know this story?
I do know a little bit of this story, but I want you to tell it.
Okay.
Yes, he got his marching orders.
So he goes dark. And then all of a sudden, Bob gets an email that the inspector general no longer works here. And the email is signed with an L, like it isn't even a name. And then Bob finds out where the inspector general went. The inspector general is Scott McAfee.
Oh my goodness.
So Bob
Scott McAfee, the Superior Court judge that heard the DeKalb County case yesterday.
Yeah,
so everybody understand that.
You know,
don't jump ahead, Lori. So okay,
I'm sorry,
so now
I'm connecting these dots. Now this is wild. Okay.
Okay, so it's Scott McAfee. So basically, he has evidence of 2020 election fraud, and then Kemp appoints him to a Superior Court judge. Now, before I go further, Bob also gave the evidence to the DA in Fannin County. And all of a sudden, she wouldn't respond to Carol or Bob's request for a meeting. Wouldn't respond. All of a sudden, she's no longer in that seat because Brian Kemp appointed her to be Superior Court judge up there in Fannin County. So if you want to be a judge, you need to be friends with Bob, and he can get you a judgeship. All right.
That's right. Just ask him for his evidence.
Ask for Bob's evidence, and Brian Kemp will call and give you a judgeship. All right.
That's right.
So then McAfee, who's 30-0, it becomes over President Trump and all the indictees' cases. And the man's in over his head. Okay, so he's there. He should have recused himself because guess what? Because he already knows 2020 should be questioned because he has the evidence from Bob. All right. So if that wasn't good enough.
Well, plus he had already previously worked with Fannie Willis.
Yes.
And donated to her campaign.
Willis. Yes. Wow. Yeah. He used to work for Fannie
can't
Willis.
Make this stuff up.
You can't make this up. This is like a bad soap opera. Okay. So then this week I really got ticked off. I was disappointed in Attorney McDougal. I'm just saying. And if you're listening, Harry McDougal, I'm very sorry, but I was disappointed. All right. So Mr. McDougal has our book. He's had it since August 6th. And I don't know if he's read it or not, but Mr. Cromwell, who's another indictee attorney, we gave him the book. Why are we giving them to those guys? Because they need to pay attention to the three of us because we can help them in their case. I mean, we have enough evidence to put a lid
kick
on
those cases out.
Yeah, take them out. Okay. And so Cromwell, he says, I know what I'm going to read this weekend. And then that was like on a Thursday. And then on like Monday or Tuesday, he calls me at like 8:05. And I said, hello. And he goes, are you on national news? And I knew then he had read the book. And so I told him that Mr. McDougal had a copy as well, and I hadn't heard from him. So, okay. So I don't know why Mr. McDougal did what he did on Monday, but here's the deal. Okay, so he and Ben Cotton are referring to the Pro V&V audit as if it was a conclusion that it occurred. Now think about how rich it would have been to have Bob Coover on the stand talking about the Pro V&V audit that never occurred with McAfee sitting there on the bench.
Exactly. Wow.
I would have just paid money and gotten extra popcorn for that.
Wow. It makes you wonder how it didn't happen, you know?
Yeah, it does a little bit.
Right. Okay.
So that's how we tie in Bob.
Wow.
And this week's events.
Sure.
Yeah.
I've seen the interview.
Yeah.
With
Well,
Bob
also,
Coover,
you know, McAfee being the inspector general who actually investigated this information and was going forward with the fact that Pro V&V wasn't audited. I mean, if McAfee includes anything stating that, you know, the machines are great because that Pro V&V audit happened, oh my gosh. I mean, how it's bad enough now.
Right.
Because, you know, he has the evidence, and because he is considered a law enforcement officer as a judge or as the inspector general, he now is actually guilty of misprision of a felony. Wow. So the judge is.
Man, this is wild.
We'll see what he does tomorrow.
Let me ask you, if this was, let's just say this was something about.
Well, I think the judge said he was going to come back with some kind of a response on Friday.
Okay, I thought it was Thursday.
For the defense's request for a judgment.
Okay, yeah.
Well, there was the dismissal request from the state as well.
Oh, so there was a
wow,
a dismissal request from the state.
Yeah, so the state, in the words of Ben Cotton, I loved how he put it. You can have the best bank vault in the world, the most secure bank vault in the world. And this is equivalent to taking the password and pasting it on the wall right next to the bank vault.
Wow.
That's right.
I think the people are getting their feet too close to the fire, maybe, because if you think about
I cannot hear our host. I don't see him, and I can't hear him. So if he's speaking with you, I don't hear anything he's saying.
I can probably fix that. But go ahead, Kim. You keep talking. I'm going to fix that.
Okay.
Because she's going out. Tell Lori to say something.
Lori, talk so he can test it.
Oh, okay. Well, I talk all the time, so I'm good at talking.
Okay,
can you hear her?
Yes.
Okay, good.
Hear her. So y'all keep talking.
Can you hear Roy?
No, I cannot hear Roy. Can't hear him, and I don't see him.
Okay.
Wow. Okay.
I don't know how that happened.
All right, so let's move along because this is y'all's show, and I'm going to fix this. So,
is it okay if I go ahead and talk and elaborate a little bit?
So, Lori, I'll start facilitating since Roy's got to figure this out.
Yeah, just so she knows she's going out on her end.
This is what we did with Antonio. We can do this.
Yes.
Okay. So the other thing that occurred in the meeting on Monday that's pertinent to us is they were talking about. Clay Parikh was asked, are you suggesting there's foreign interference or has there been foreign interference? And he said, yes, there has. And he said, Gwinnett County. I was like, hot dog. I didn't know about Gwinnett. Now, Lori, tell us about your evidence in the book as it pertains to foreign interference. And I don't know why they didn't bring that up in the case.
That's right. So we have proof that there was our election systems were remotely accessed and entire batches of absentee ballots were deleted. Entire folders of absentee ballots were deleted at the State Farm Arena in Fulton County. And that was during the early voting. So it was actually an absentee top that the poll worker was building these folders into. Well, and he did the right thing, and he tried to shut off the Wi-Fi to stop the remote access, which, you know, the Wi-Fi that the Secretary of State and the governor claim doesn't exist, right, on
That
our
Wi-Fi.
election systems.
Yeah.
Yeah, that Wi-Fi. So he tried to shut off the Wi-Fi, couldn't do it. So then what he tried to do was bypass the Wi-Fi by connecting an Ethernet cable to
Oh
try
my
and
goodness.
bypass the remote access, and that didn't do it. So he ended up having to shut down the entire computer, turn it off and shut it down and turn it in, and
Wow.
filed a report with the cybersecurity people, which was Francis Watson at the time, the head cybersecurity for the Secretary of State's office, the head investigator for cybersecurity for the Secretary of State's office at that time. So they filed a report and turned all that information over to the investigators for the Secretary of State's office. So the Secretary of State cannot say he did not know and was not aware.
Right.
You know, we also have emails proving that Merritt Beaver, who is the chief CISO for the Secretary of State's office, so he's the chief cybersecurity and information security officer for the Secretary of State's office. He also holds a second full-time job as a Georgia employee with the insurance commissioner's office doing the same position. So he holds 2 full-time jobs and gets paid for 2 full-time jobs in Georgia. Yes, this is your taxpayer dollars at work.
Right.
And not only does the Secretary of State know that these systems are connected to the Wi-Fi, but Merritt Beaver was lauded for all of his help in hooking up all of the extra access points to get into the Wi-Fi.
Wow.
So, you know, he went around setting up extra access points so that they would have enough bandwidth available to download voter registration database information and upload election results information.
Wow.
And, you know, like everybody saw in the, well, I don't know if everybody did or not, but in the Darleaf investigation, there's an email from Serbia, from Dominion Voting Systems in Serbia, Belgrade, Serbia, to Dominion Voting Systems in Denver, Colorado, which is the headquarters for Dominion here in the United States, stating and reminding the guy in Colorado that when they upload election results, that it's via an open internet connection. It is no longer a closed network at that point. It's an open internet connection. That was exactly what they said. That it's no longer a closed network at that point, which is the fake air-gapped crap that our executive branch tries to tell us is what's happening with our election systems.
Wow.
So we know that the election results are submitted. Not only are they submitted over an open internet connection, but they're actually submitted into Huawei cloud services. And Huawei cloud services is banned in the United States for use in critical infrastructure. So, yep, our election systems are a national security threat because Dominion Voting Systems uses Huawei cloud services to upload our election results.
And I want to say too, Lori is like the Georgia nerd. She can tell a tale that sounds like some Clancy novel. She has the emails in the book.
Right.
So literally you can read from Ryan Germany and Jordan Fuchs to this group and the contents of the email. So
what tab is that under?
She's tab 1.
Tab 1. Okay.
Yes.
I'm gonna pull it up. Oh, yeah. So see, I'm pulling this up.
And now, you know, we have, where am I talking over him?
No, go ahead.
Oh, you're good.
Okay, so now, you know, we have where the FBI and CISA is putting out these reports that they fear that Iran is going to be interfering via DDoS attacks during or on election day, right? During this election cycle or on election day. Now, first of all, if we're not connected to the internet, why would we have to worry about DDoS attacks?
Right.
Directed denial of service attacks can only happen if you're connected to the internet. If you're not connected to the internet, you don't have to worry that that shit's going on. Oh, sorry, excuse my French. But in the meantime, Iran was already in our systems, and the Secretary of State's office was aware of that before he even signed the Dominion contract. So there was a email that was sent to him from the network analysis team that he contracts with at Georgia Tech, which is DARPA, by the way. So he contracts with DARPA at Georgia Tech to be our network analysis people for the Dominion voting systems. So they were already on March 30th of 2020, they were already aware. Raffensperger signed the final iteration of the Dominion contract on, April 19th of 2020 was when he signed the final contract for Dominion. Well, on here, the DARPA guys are telling him that despite all that we have done, there's enough evidence that looks to be Russian and Iranian command and control activities within the election networks.
Wow.
So now it turns out we know it wasn't really Russian, it's really Serbia.
Mhm.
And maybe it's Iran, maybe it's not. I don't believe that for a minute. I think it's our own government that's doing this crap, honestly. But, you know, that's just my opinion. I don't have proof of that. But what I do have is proof that Raffensperger was well aware that Iran or foreign command and control was already in our election systems before he even finalized the Dominion contract. So it's like our book says, this system should never have been purchased or implemented in Georgia. Should never have happened.
And we're the only state in the union that was contracted, correct? I mean,
no, we're not the only one that contracted with Dominion. We're the only one that contracted BMDs everywhere. Isn't that right, Lori? It's what's unique about us is the BMDs everywhere, isn't it?
No. I mean, the only one that contracted with Dominion as far as across the country or as far as across the country. No. So there's many states that are saddled with this Dominion system. And it's like Clay was talking about yesterday, but, you know, as far as like people in Arizona, if they had this password, which was easy to get, obviously, you know, because it's taped to the outside of the box.
Yeah.
So the people in Arizona who had this password could have been tasked to go into Georgia's elections and change votes in Georgia. And Clay showed you guys during the hearing yesterday that he could go in and change votes and it was not detectable. That not only that was it not detectable that he changed votes, it wasn't even detectable that he logged into the system, because they do away with all of the ID yourself stuff. So it's not where you have a login and a password. They do away with the login completely and just give everybody an admin password.
Wow.
So you can't
delete
tell
the logs of activity as well. Don't they?
Yes, and then they can go back and delete the logs. That's exactly right. And or you know, they'll burn the ballot images or shred the ballot images that they used, because then that would prove the fraud, right? Because if you can take the original cast ballots out of the tabulator bucket and compare it to the ballots, that will show you the fraud.
Wow.
So they have to destroy the ballot images.
All right.
Now,
so
one of the go ahead, Roy.
I want you to let her know that he's coming in loud and clear on the internet and to you and me, but on my end, everything's good. So I don't know whether there's like a button or a mute or something, but we'll keep going like this so we don't lose any of it.
Okay. So Roy says everybody can hear all three of us. It's just you can't hear him, Lori.
Okay.
I don't know what
Okay,
All right.
happened, but
Well,
so
just tell
I
me to
wanna
shut up if he's talking.
you're good.
I want to go back to the timeline because I find the timeline very
And
interesting.
while you're starting, I'm going to pull this up, and I want everybody to know that what we're pulling
Which
up
part?
is Lori's. This is Lori's tab. This is what people are getting, and you go ahead and start.
Yeah, so I never saw the tab, Roy, on the screens. Can your viewers see the tab?
Yes, they
Oh,
can
okay.
see everything. So I've got actually, I've pulled
Oh,
up
is he
tab
showing the
one.
page that I was talking
Yes,
about?
evidence proving Georgia's electronic voting
So
system should have never
Wait a
been
minute,
implemented.
Lori.
it's tab email.
Okay,
Tab 1, page 5.
here is the email. So everything she's talking about, guys, is right here. The next emails will prove not only Georgia is a election system connected to the internet. And this is not an excuse, but we need, for example, there are some things that did not finish as of this morning. So is this the email?
So I can't see the emails that you're
Oh,
showing, but
okay.
she's got several emails.
I've got on page
Several
5.
about the internet being
Mhm.
connected to the internet because they had problems. So
Yes,
the emails
one
are
from
pretty
Francis Watson.
straightforward.
Mhm.
Yeah. And then
Okay.
they couldn't get the Wi-Fi to work. That's one email. And so they connected with an Ethernet cable. But my favorite is the laptop from hell email where the cursor
Yes.
is moving with no human intervention.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. It was moving around. It was jumping around the screen all by itself and deleted entire folders out of what he was working on.
Wow.
And so what was frustrating about the case, I was all excited that they knew Gwinnett was hacked this
Mhm.
way because I didn't know that. But Lori's evidence in the book is Hall County. She just went away for a minute. So
Okay.
Hall County was also in the emails.
Wow.
So
Okay.
it wasn't just Fulton. She had the email mentioned Hall County as well.
So I'm actually just scrolling.
They talked about in the case on Monday about Gwinnett County, but your evidence shows Fulton County and Hall County. Was there another one?
I think it was Rockdale was the other county as well.
Okay.
And they kept
I'm running.
notifying the Secretary of State's office that all this was happening. Right? So the County Board of Elections was notifying the Secretary of State that they were being hacked.
Yes. So the Secretary of State absolutely knows that the 2020 election was hacked remotely. He knows
That's
it.
right.
Yes.
That's
And-
exactly right.
And so going back to the timeline, so he signs a contract with Dominion in April of 19, right?
Mhm.
April 19th of 2020.
2020. That's what, yeah, 2020. Okay, so my evidence starts before then. So
Wow.
this shows a major plan to do a coup on the government, to do a coup on the United States of America.
Like, I hope my viewers are appreciating this. I'm actually showing you what's in that, what she's talking about, and the emails and the copies. Now, this is not something that they just made up. This is something that they have proof, evidence of all of these things here. So
Yes, she has the evidence, all three of us. So meaning Helen and I in tab 2 and Lori in tab 1 and Couvert and Carol in tab 3. So
Okay.
the timeline is interesting. It shows how they were planning this starting in 2019. So
Oh, really?
yes, really. So the first piece of evidence is from the nerd group, is from Helen and I, and it was one of the first big projects that Helen and I ever worked on. And this was
And it was DHS that was planning the whole thing. You can tell that from that page 5, where the DARPA people at Georgia Tech are actually talking to DHS about the incursions into this Dominion voting system. So just everybody realizes that. Okay, go ahead, Kim.
Okay, so the reason I know they wanted this hackable system and they knew it was coming is from our angle. We didn't even know who Lori was, right? And we didn't even know about her evidence, but we were working on files and we uncovered something in the absentee file. So in the absentee file, that's where all early voting is supposed to be recorded. Okay, and so there's ballot requested date, ballot issue date when they mail the ballot and ballot receive date. And there's laws around each one of those. Well, in 2020, the law said the earliest you could request an absentee ballot was 180 days prior to an election. Now, UOCAVA and elderly disabled, they get some exceptions. So once we took them out, all we did, I mean, this was pretty simple analysis. And it was before we had big data tools. We had to do all 159 counties separately, but we did. And it's the earliest lawful date you could request an absentee ballot in 2020 was May 6, 2020. That's 180 days prior to the election.
Okay.
All right. The earliest ballot request that turned into a vote was January 2019.
What?
I said January 2019. I didn't misspeak.
22 months before the election.
And a year and 3 months before the Dominion contract was signed. Okay, so let's keep going on this timeline. So there were batch files where it was like, you know, on one day you see almost a whole precinct in a county request ballots on the same day. Now think about it. It's December of 2019 and you're wrapping Christmas gifts. What human says, I think I'm going to request an absentee ballot for next year's November election. Says no human.
Sure.
Now, think about it. This is before we could spell COVID.
Yeah.
This is before drop boxes.
Yes.
This is before signature verification relaxation. All right.
Yeah.
Or none at all.
Now, the other piece of the timeline is Gwinnett County and Brad Raffensperger were sued.
Oh, really?
In November of 2019. And that's the reason, part of the settlement for the drop boxes. All right. So Gwinnett County came up this week. And Gwinnett County in one election flipped, I don't know how many seats from red to blue. Highly suspicious, almost as if it was a settlement. I'm just saying, but I don't have any proof to that.
You know what? Man, you're
but the absentee requests are real. They're in his file. Gotcha. I can show it to you. Well, I do show it to you, actually. And let's keep going. So it's before COVID. In the middle of COVID, remember April, regardless of what you think of COVID now, in April, a lot of us weren't woken up yet, like me. Okay. I didn't wake up till Hunter Biden's laptop. All right. So that's October. That's before the election, but whatever. All right. So we were all watching that map grow. And we were lucky in Georgia because we could still get out, but we didn't get out as much. It's like half of Gilmer County asked for absentee ballot on the same day. These big batches of requests were coming in. So Helen and our analysis shows over 300,000 ballots that were requested before the lawful date. Now, I don't know when Brad Raffensperger sent his letter to the county officials, but he sent them all a letter and he said normally, now think about it, the county official, when they get a ballot request early, they reject it because it's too early.
Right, supposed to, right?
This is a 99% acceptance that turned into votes. Now, the county did not do this. This is how I know. The normal process is it goes to the county and they accept or reject. But in 2020, Rathensperger sent a letter to all 159 counties and said, normally you handle ballot requests, but this year we're going to save money and we're going to have a mass mailing. So I'm going to take over ballot request until mid-September, which was when he had his mass mailing. Now, that means the county had no idea this was going on behind their back. And they weren't paying attention to the requests coming in because they don't look at absentee files like I can.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And they can only look at stuff on a one person at a time basis in their tool. All right. So this was all done outside the county's purview. So out of that 235,520 unlawful too early ballot requests turned into votes.
You got to be kidding.
Now, everybody wants to talk about the presidential spread of 11,600, whatever it was.
11,779.
11,779. I don't want to talk about that number anymore. Let's talk about Senate races. Okay. So that's 235,520 unlawful votes in 2020 before we even really get started here. But it got worse. Now, that Helen and I were pretty proud of ourselves that we uncovered that. Now, so let's back up on this timeline before we go a little further.
Okay.
It's as if I'm not a conspiracy theorist. It's in the file. It's as if Brad Rathensperger knew COVID was coming.
No way.
Well, and he was working with DHS and DARPA, so hey.
That's what the file says. That's all I'm going to say.
What a bunch of coincidences, huh?
Yeah. Okay. And so now let's talk about how it got even worse. So when we got a little more sophisticated in our data analysis, remember the 235,520 were ones where we could prove they cast a vote. But then we started comparing the absentee file to the voter history file. And that file is everybody that gets credit for casting a vote in an election. We found 5,100 absentee votes that the ballot was never mailed in. Remember at the beginning of the story, I said there were 3 dates.
Right.
Ballot request date, the date they mailed it, and the date it came back. The field where date came back is literally blank, but yet they got credit for voting absentee in the 2020 election.
Man.
But it gets okay, so that's another 5,100 votes we can talk about. But it gets even worse. Talk about stomping on the county official.
Yes. So, before you go into this, I do want to say that's been the brunt of all of this, is that the counties, right? That you're showing where all of this was kind of taken away from the counties.
Yes,
but they're the ones that took the brunt of the anger, and they're the ones that had to shield off all the people that are mad and upset and going down there. Continue.
Yes, and they to this day, they got a book now because we mailed them one. But but to this day, they do not understand what happened on their dime. They have no clue it happened on their dime. And everybody's focused on Fulton County, and I got news for you. So the unlawful too early ballots were in 158 of 159 counties. It was in every single county in Georgia, except one. I told Helen to go back and check her work because I didn't believe her when she couldn't find one in Elbert County. But anyway, okay, so then it gets even worse. If they didn't, so they counted 5,100 votes where they didn't even mail the ballot back in. Now, a lot of county officials have PTSD from that election. Like they have nightmares. It was bad. The whole thing was bad.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Well, they try to do their job. And so Pierce County had canceled This is when we got a little more sophisticated with our data analysis.
Mm-hmm.
Pierce County had canceled someone as mentally incompetent in September.
Right.
And I doubt that happens very often.
Mm-hmm.
And it comes from the probate judge. So the judge has to deem you mentally incompetent. That isn't your brother-in-law calls up and says he's crazy. No, that's not how it works.
Right.
It goes through the judge. All right. So they canceled this person as mentally incompetent.
Okay.
2 or 3 weeks later, one of Brad Raffensperger's unlawful too early ballot requests comes in to the office, and they canceled it. Canceled it. And the reason for cancellation in the file is ineligible elector. That's what it said. They did everything right. Okay. They canceled the person. Then the ballot came in and they canceled the ballot. Person got credit for voting anyway.
Oh my God.
Yeah. And then Miss Conk, I like Miss Conk. She kind of looks like my grandmother. So she died in September, and she had one of Brad Raffensperger's unlawful too early ballot requests.
Right.
And it never came back. This was Bibb County, never came back. So there's a blank. Yet they gave Miss Conk credit for voting, and she was deceased and never even mailed her ballot back in.
Wow.
So there's levels of fraud, but when it gets to that final level where the county actually did the right thing and canceled or rejected the ballot and it still got counted, shows you how bad the cheat was on the 2020 election. And that's all published in the United States Supreme Court and the book.
Man. And now, is that still Lori's tab?
No, this is all Georgia Nerds.
Georgia Nerds. Okay.
Yeah, but she was talking about the timeline. And so when you take her timeline of the Dominion voting and when it was set up, and then she also talks about the certification and all that, you have to put in what else Brad Raffensperger was doing before then and then after then, before the election, to see this total picture. It was a plan thing starting in 2019.
Right.
Well, he started the negotiations with Dominion voting systems, I believe, in August of 2019.
Wow. Now, obviously, I mean, this is not just a one-man show. This is a whole package deal here, right? I mean, that's the way I look at it anyway. I'm thinking that, if you look at the main players across the U.S., there was a lot of things going on there. So obviously Dominion was sort of pushing this stuff, right? I mean, this is not just Brad Raffensperger. This is a conspiracy here,
Oh, no. Oh,
You
no.
know what
So,
I mean?
yeah. So, Lori, can you speak to that phone call that occurred like on, what was it, November 2nd with all the different actors? You remember that email?
Oh, that was on November 3rd, Election Day.
Okay, talk about that.
Yeah, on Election Day, Eric and CEIR got in touch with our Secretary of State's office via Gabriel Sterling. But it wasn't just him. It was all of the cheaters across the whole country that was involved in this email, where they were saying that, if anybody was having any issues with getting their election stuff done, they had this they set up a meeting for 2:00 in the afternoon on Election Day. Yeah. So, and that email is in there too. And then there's another email where Eric confirms that they send all of our personal identifying information via our voter registration databases to CEIR. Well, then CEIR actually forwards all of that information to Beijing, China, Facebook, Alibaba, Craigslist, and a plethora of porn sites which I know why they do that now, but I'm not going to go into it on here.
Wow.
Yeah. So on this email in the middle of the day on election day, don't you think they had something better to do? It says the cheaters of the cheat, like, oh, I don't know. I know the names if I hear them, but like the Michigan Commie State Election Board person. But one of the people. So
oh yeah, you had the Maricopa County people there,
yes,
and as well as you know,
Pennsylvania.
as well as Stephen
Pennsylvania, yes.
Richer and Hobbs, I think, was in there
Sure.
as well. And
Sure.
then then you have the Pennsylvania people in there, and then you had Colorado people in there. You
Yes.
had Wisconsin people. You
Yes.
had Georgia, Nevada. I mean, all of the cheater states.
Mm-hmm.
Had a conference call on November 3rd. She's got that email. It's in the book. Okay,
Yes.
so the interesting thing is in
What page?
Georgia,
I'm going to pull it up while you're talking about it.
the Clayton County election supervisor was on the call.
What?
And I'm like, okay, she's a major player. She's a major commie.
When did you guys stumble upon this particular thing? Do you remember when?
Do you remember when you got that email, Lori? When you uncovered it?
Oh my gosh. In 23. I think that was in 23.
Ask her what page that's
Yeah, I
on,
mean,
she
a bunch
can
of
remember.
these open records requests not only came from my open records requests, but and you know, I work with another group of people as well who help with the open records requests. But then also from my own open records requests, I'm getting open records requests responses to open records requests now that I asked for in July of 22.
Wow.
And I'm just now getting them.
That's
what
insane.
page in the book is that email with the cast of characters? Wasn't Fontes on there?
I'd
from
like to pull this
Maricopa?
up just so people can see it.
Pretty
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah.
Hold on one second, and I'll tell you the page.
Now, I know there's some people that are having some minds blown right now, and like I keep reiterating, this is the book that was sent out to everybody. Okay,
There's so many
Yeah.
pages.
We spent thousands.
Oh my gosh! And then there's something else I have to
Please.
go over with again.
Yeah,
As
so
far as
tell
like
us
the remote
page.
access where shit was deleted. I'll have to go over that again as well. But let me get to this page first that you're speaking of.
Okay.
But that's while she looks. That's why we say between the three groups. I mean, and that's without the cyber stuff you heard yet on Monday.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And what Lori didn't say is she is an ex-Army vet that was in intelligence.
Wow. You know,
so she understands.
I can tell you that that's
okay. So it is on
Lori,
pages.
I can tell you that these people never saw this coming. This many people standing up, going through the sludge to find all this information. I mean, it is amazing to me what you all have uncovered. Go ahead.
Yeah, collectively, it is amazing.
Yes.
And they didn't think we'd ever look. And I never thought I'd look at an election file. Okay, so Lori, what page is that?
I think it's page 37 and 38.
All right, I want to bring this up, and you guys can go ahead and continue on. Let's see.
Okay, so that's
general
I can't see the email, so I'm assuming 37 and 38 is where the
but if you go to 37, you'll be able to see the criminal players.
The two list.
Gotcha.
Yes.
All right.
Yeah, and it's Gabriel Sterling, who uses his private email, by the way, and not a SOS email.
I'm pulled up.
And then you also have
37.
Ryan Germany in there.
Yep.
Yeah.
I've got it pulled up, ladies. I'm sorry y'all can't see it, but it's pulled up for everybody to see.
Okay. What was the next page you wanted us to go to, Lori?
Well, I just wanted to show everybody that. Hold on one second. Let's see. In this, I am described complete. Apparently was received by someone.
Sterling Innovative is highlighted.
So
Ryan Germany is
Dominic Olamo.
Oh,
in his testimony. Yeah, Dominic Olimo, who isn't even an American citizen and is not even allowed to be working with our elections, by the
Correct.
way. But
Correct.
in the meantime, in his testimony during Curling v. Raffensperger,
Mhm.
and this was in February. Oh, it was Happy
She cut
Valentine's
out. There you
2023.
go.
Oh, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. So in his testimony for Curling v. Raffensperger, he was being asked by the curling attorney, my question concerns item number 1 in this email you see here. I'll try to highlight it. I'm not sure if I can. In any event, item 1 describes a complaint that apparently was received by someone at the Federal Bureau of Investigation regarding an incident on October 23rd, 2020. One of those. Okay, so this was concerning wireless connections to components of Georgia's current election system. Are you aware of any vulnerabilities related to the use of the ballot marking devices that are created by lower security wireless connections? And Dominic says, no, he's not aware of it. But then you'll see it's on page 16
Okay.
of tab 1. But then you'll see where Mr. Angelos Karas Midas, whatever, he's the DARPA dude that works at Georgia Tech.
Mhm.
You'll see where that's in there. Well, I'll tell you exactly what happened on October 23rd of 2020. That is when the laptop at the State Farm Arena was remotely accessed or hacked
Mm.
into, and entire folders of absentee ballots were being deleted. That is what was turned over to the FBI, which obviously, they did such a great job on, Crategate. And,
Yeah, they did such a good job of Wiener's laptop, Hunter's laptop,
Oh
and
yeah.
this laptop.
that's right.
Or
And this laptop. That's exactly right.
Yeah, the
So,
FBI gobbles laptops.
what?
I'm looking
yeah.
at your list of twos on this naughty list. Man, Florida is all over this thing.
Yeah, everybody thinks that Florida's election system is so great. It's terrible.
Yeah.
Right.
It's just as bad as the rest of the country.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm here to tell you that
Mm.
Trump won in 2020, probably 75% to 25%.
Yeah, I'm pulling that up now back to
And
the
it's
list.
going to be even worse for Kamala. I mean, I think she's lucky if she'll get 15% of the vote.
Oh yes.
Right.
Now, what do
Right.
you guys think about
But
this?
here's the thing.
Go
So,
ahead.
hang on.
I had.
Go ahead, Lori.
I'm just
Roy
asking.
was
Yeah,
asking a question.
what do y'all
Oh,
think?
I'm sorry.
What do
Okay,
you guys?
so
Hang
we
on,
have the
Lori. Hang on,
laptop.
Lori. Hang on,
Okay.
Lori.
Real quick, while we're talking about that in different states, how do you feel about early voting? We've been told that we got a huge window and you must go vote early. Do you think, like some of us think, that this is nothing more than a ploy to kind of jumpstart, generate the algorithms? What's your thoughts on that?
Okay, so Roy wants to jump on early voting. He wants to know what we think about early voting. You want to go first? You want me to go first?
Vote
Uh-oh.
in-person day. Do not do early voting.
And-
do not mail
why
your
do you
ballot.
say that, Lori?
Because them or the they use early voting as their algorithm in order to figure out what to prepare, what the software numbers have to be to prepare for election day. Do not vote early. It gives them the algorithm that they need. Number 2, the whole mail in your ballot. Are you going to trust your ballot with an entity that backs Kamala Harris, right? So the USPS came out and endorsed Kamala. So are you going to trust your Republican ballot with those people? Plus, everybody is already complaining about how long it takes how long it takes for you to get your mail. And I can tell you that in our federal lawsuit, we put a section in there requiring that the county boards of elections abide by the law And the law, which is 21-2-386, if anybody wants to go look it up, the law says that if any mailed in ballots via absentee voting, any ballots they receive by the mail, if they receive them in the precinct beyond the poll closing time, which is 7 p.m., they are not even allowed to open those ballots, much less count them. The precinct supervisor is required to put on the outside of the envelope that it wasn't received until after the polls closed and initial off on it.
Yeah, she cut
Right.
out. She cuts out sometimes. She's
Yep.
on Starlink.
Right.
But I will
We'll get her
go.
back.
I'll go. Oh, she cut out for good. She'll come back. Okay, so the reason I say do not vote early is several reasons. She didn't talk about fractional voting in the Dominion. Okay, you're back. You cut out.
Okay.
Oh,
We can.
yes. Good, Lori. I'm going to go next. So, Lori didn't cover fractional voting, but she'll tell you in the Dominion patent you can read it has the ability of fractional voting, and other scientists have found that to be the case. And it's like, why would you ever have fractional voting? Why would you ever get 0.75 of your vote to one candidate and 2.5 to another? So that's all that. Okay, so now the reason the nerds say you don't vote early is we see massive fraud in early voting.
Okay.
So we see people that do not exist check in and vote early. I'll give you my favorite example. There's a lot of examples. I don't want to make people think I only have a couple, but so you have a precinct code, and that code is attached to the church or the fire station or the wherever you go vote, the library. And so you drive to the poll, right, to vote. Well, what if you didn't have a precinct assigned? So it looks like 8888 or 9999. It's a placeholder for your precinct code. So if you don't have a precinct, where do you get in your car? Where are you going to go? Because first thing, that's just brass tacks. Where are you going to go? All right. So we see people getting credit for voting at an undefined precinct.
Really?
But got it. Oh, it's going to get a lot better.
When you say undefined, is it a fake precinct or it just says undefined literally?
No, it does. It says the number is either 88888 or 99999.
Okay.
Which is the placeholder for if they haven't given you a precinct yet.
Got it.
So where are you going to go? You aren't assigned to a precinct, so you can't check in at the poll pad at an undefined precinct. Okay, that's first problem. Then the next thing we find is my favorite example, and this gentleman got credit for voting absentee in 2020, but he wasn't in the absentee file. Now we have 3,200 votes that were absentee voting without being in the absentee file. That's 3,200 more unlawful votes or questionable votes in the 2020 election. The numbers are ticking up if you're keeping track. All right. So this gentleman got credit for absentee voting, but he wasn't in the absentee file until Brad Raffensperger was cooking the books all the way until 2023. He's still changing the absentee file for 2020 in 2023. It's like an addition of the 2020 absentee file. So the man shows up at the undefined precinct as voting in person on October 26, 2020. The man is a World War II vet that has been deceased since 2003.
Wow.
Okay, that's my favorite example. Raven Moore, deceased, voting at an undefined precinct early in person. A lot of things we find early in person, not only do we see impossible check-ins, we believe are pure inserted votes in early voting. We see double voting in early voting. What is double voting? There's 2 IDs for Roy. Roy comes in and he votes, and then your duplicate votes. But your duplicate really didn't show up at the precinct and check in and vote. It just looks like your duplicate showed up and voted.
Wow.
On the same day. And sometimes you share the same ballot image. I can't prove it. Now, all that was fact.
Okay.
2 Roys, 2 IDs, same day, early voting. You got credit for voting. All right. And then sometimes you share the same ballot ID. All right. My guess, now I'm going to guess. My guess is that's how they change your vote.
Okay. I think I'm getting the picture now. That's
Because
how they change it. They flip it.
After the election, they take those 2 numbers and they merge them and they cancel the duplicate. So you're left with that 1 number for Roy again. So you see on my voter page, you voted, but what you don't know is you voted twice, and really they took the fake one and they put it on top of your real vote. That's a guess, but I think it's a pretty good guess.
Sure. I mean, sure. There's room to speculate here with so much evidence that you're presenting.
But I'm presenting fact that
Yes.
there's massive double voting via duplicate IDs, and we see a lot of it in early voting. So just stay away.
Okay.
So what the nerds are saying to do, and I've done it for the first time in my life, is to request an absentee ballot.
Right.
Now, why do I say request an absentee ballot? Because in 2020, a lot of people showed up to vote and they were told, you've already voted via an absentee ballot. So if you request your ballot as early as you can, because it's past the lawful date, so get on it, you're banking your vote.
Okay.
So you get it. So the first day they can mail it is 5 days from now. October 7th is the earliest date they can mail the ballots out. And you sit on it. Do not mail it in ever, which is what Lori said. But then on election day, you have a choice. You can either take your ballot with you and choose to vote on the machine. And if they say you've already voted, you say, I have not. Here's my ballot. Oh,
okay. Yeah, I think we're having issues. We've got her audio, but we haven't had her on video for a minute. But we've got her on.
Go out and come back in, Lori. Okay. So what we're saying is, if they tell you you've already voted, you can show your absentee that you requested. You're a victim of identity theft. I'll talk about identity theft in a minute. And you should call law enforcement and fill out an identity theft that at that time.
Right.
Okay. Now, there's some theories out there. They're just theories. If you look at Maricopa in 2022, they did all this stuff to hurt the vote. You know, they purposely had bad size paper so it wouldn't go through the scanner. And then they since have found videos of them practicing jamming the scanners before election day. You can't make this stuff up. So they're planning for the people that wanted to vote on election day to have problems. What if they take down the internet, like the Cloudflare strike? Okay.
So, oh, yeah.
So if they take down the internet, they're going to take down those machines. Okay, well, you're holding your absentee ballot, so you can still vote.
That's
all
a
right.
beautiful idea. That's kind of like the safeguard your ballot initiative. Yeah. Okay.
Yes. Now,
Okay.
so we talked about if you take it and you want to at your precinct, you want to vote on the machine. Your other option is to go to your elections office, not the precinct. Don't put it in the drop box. You don't know who's going to do what with it. You go to your elections office and you submit your ballot there.
Okay.
So that's how and I can't believe we're having to have this conversation.
I know, this is insane. You're having to jump through hoops to worry about your ballot. It's crazy.
Yes, but we're in a fight for our life. Now,
Yes.
Lori, how are you on seeing and hearing people?
Okay, good.
Great.
Can you hear me?
Great.
All right, that's wonderful. I think it was just on your end. Now you're still not showing up on video, but as long as you can hear me, that's wonderful. We're back. The gang is back in action. So, all right. Now I have no time frame here either. I just want to let you know we're about 1 hour and 12 minutes. We can go as long as we need to go, and we are still up on everything. So we've got a lot of comments, and we'll go through them in a little while. But I definitely want to hit everything we want to hit, but I'm not in a hurry. So you ladies continue.
So I want to hit identity theft next.
All right.
And I would like you to go to tab 2. And I'd like you to go to where is she? There she is. Page 22 and 23.
All right. Tab 2. All right. Hang on 1 second here. Let me get out of this. Tab 2, page 22 and 23.
Right. And I just want to tell everybody on these thumb drives, all these tabs are on here. And you can either print out the book or share a copy of the thumb drive with your sheriff or your DA or your state house rep or whomever you want to give it to. Yes, the board of commissioners, the ones that pay for the stupid machines. Yes, those people. Because it costs us thousands of dollars to mail and publish and mail those 250 with signature verification. And so please help us out, donate, and we'll send you a drive, and then you can spread it around your community.
Yep. And we're going to post it.
Do you have page 22 up?
Yep. I'm going to pull it up, and it'll cover the screen. So you keep going. And while you're doing that, I'm going to add another browser. We'll get her back on video. So there you go. Okay. It's up 22 and 23.
Okay, so I'm going to tell you about one of our first cases of identity theft, and it's very significant. So back to the duplicate IDs. This woman registered to vote when she was 20, but never voted. They like stealing the vote of people that never vote because they know you're not looking. Yeah. They know you're not looking, and so they'll steal your vote. All right. So around 2019 and 2020, go figure, she gets not one, but 2 duplicate IDs. One can only imagine what they did with her IDs in 2020. Then right after 2020, Bullitt County, this is where she resides, merge both IDs. So she's back to one ID. When you merge 2 numbers, the one that was canceled is just a number. It's not a person. And it should never show back up in the system again. But we see duplicate IDs reissued on the voter roll all the time. It's a big problem.
Okay.
Now, the way we got on her case was her duplicate ID was reissued in Gwinnett County.
What?
Now, you can own 2 homes in Georgia, of course, but you can't reside. Your home isn't in 2 places in Georgia, and you can't register in 2 counties in Georgia.
Right.
So I went to the apartment in Gwinnett and proved she didn't live there. And someone in Statesboro found her and spoke with her.
Hmm.
And she said she's never gone to Gwinnett or resided there or anything. All right. So we challenged, someone in Gwinnett challenged her voter roll existent in Gwinnett.
Okay.
And she came through the Department of Driver Services motor voter application. 90% of all ads on our voter roll come through the Department of Driver Services.
Wow.
Now, and it's like a list. Every morning, the election official gets a new list of motor voter applications, and they just sit there and add them to the voter roll. Now, based on the trouble that most people get at the Department of Driver Services, why would you think it's not real? And you can't discern a real one versus a fake one. And we're about to talk about a fake one. Now, I don't have the redacted motor voter in the evidence. I didn't go that bold, but I have the signatures.
Right.
So if you see here, these 3 signatures on page 22 and 23, for the longest time, I didn't share this information because I'm not going to share someone's signature.
Mm-hmm.
And then I figured out I could redact 2/3 of these signatures, and you still can tell they're 3 different distinct signatures. So the first one on page 22 is from a Jarvis, which is the software that the election officials use via ORR. I got this. And if you look up in the top corner, this is the signature from 2019. And then at the top of 23, that's her signature from 2020. Totally different.
Yes, it is.
Totally different. Okay. But then right underneath it is the DDS motor voter application in Gwinnett, another totally different signature. Now, stare at that one for a minute.
I've got all 3 of them where you can see them.
Okay, good. Her name is spelled with 1 L.
Oh, really?
And a lot of times duplicates have 1 letter different to throw people like me off, make it hard to find the duplicates.
Wow.
So the duplicate is spelled with 2 L's, and the fraudster, the forged signature, is pretty 2 L's. It's obvious it's 2 L's, but she doesn't spell her name with 2 L's.
Wow.
Now, what you need to know about this motor voter application that's very disturbing, Lori's already said that she has evidence that Eric shares our personal information with CEIR.
Okay.
All right. So this motor voter application,
Which is the Center for Election Integrity or some bullshit.
yeah. And so they stole her driver's license number, the last 4 of her social, her birth date, her sex, her height and race, put her at a fake address, and gave her a fake signature. Wow. That is classic identity theft. Oh my God. And she's never gotten a Gwinnett driver's license.
That is crazy. Now, do you have any theories on who would actually do that?
I do not know who's forging the signatures.
Golly.
But this woman has had identity theft on her by her own government for 4 years. It started in 2019.
Wow.
Yeah. Okay, so now it's gotten worse.
And they're committing voter fraud on her behalf.
No,
we don't know that. We didn't catch a cast vote in 2020.
Oh, okay. Got you.
It probably happened, but we didn't catch it. Okay, Roy.
Yes, I'm just trying to get Lori back active here.
Did you lose her? Because
I've got her, but
okay,
her volume is not coming out. So you keep talking. I'm gonna keep fixing. So
Okay, so the identity theft got even worse in the primary of this year. All right. A gentleman in Perry, Georgia. He's an influential guy. He owns a business, and he went to vote, and they said, "Sir, you're no longer on the voter roll. You've moved out of state." What? And he's holding his non-expired Georgia driver's license. They say your license isn't good either. What? Well, luckily, because he owns this company, one of the poll workers goes, "Do you know, I don't remember the name, Sandra?" And he goes, "Oh yeah, she's my neighbor. She works for you." So they did the right thing, and they put him back on the voter roll and let him vote.
Wow.
Then he calls law enforcement, and they go, "Your driver's license has been abandoned. You have I'm looking at your driver's license in Florida."
Oh my God.
Now he knows all this, but he doesn't know me. It's kind of a divine intervention here, because I think he's moved to Florida and somebody stole his identity in Georgia.
Okay.
And it was the opposite. And I found him.
Wow.
And so I know Chris Jersky in Florida, who does very respectful federal work in Florida. And this man has been registered to vote in Florida since 2020, and per the Florida voter rolls, has moved 3 times. Yet he never left his Georgia home.
Wow.
And the middle one, the middle address, had his Georgia home as his mailing address. Like, what the hell?
Yeah, this is kind of absurd. And Lori, by the way, we got your volume, your audio fixed, so you can chime in anytime you want.
Oh, great.
Okay.
So it's much worse than the first scenario that was really bad.
Yeah, this is mind blowing. The whole voter rolls and how they can do this and through the Department of Driver's
Well, and they
Services.
canceled his driver's license.
Yeah, they canceled his driver's license. He goes, "I'm driving around without a license." Okay, now go to page 31, please.
31. Here we go. All right.
Okay.
Pulling it up.
So we've talked about deceased being, they steal their vote. We've talked about people that don't vote, they steal their vote. So now we're going to talk about felons that can't vote.
Okay. We're on page 31.
31. Okay. So I'm going to tell you about another case we got on. He came back on the voter roll. Let's see. How do I want to start this? I'm just going to start with the beginning of his story, even though I didn't know it in the beginning. In 2015, the man lived at 4165 Satellite Boulevard, Duluth, and he was arrested for armed robbery. And it must have been bad because he got 20 years. So Gwinnett County is kind of a slug. It took him till 17 to cancel him as a felon, and we have that record in the Secretary of State file. Okay, so they canceled the felon. Now you got to kind of remember this: 4165 Satellite Boulevard. All right, so they cancel him.
Okay.
Then what made us get on his trail is he comes back on the voter roll at 3900 Chattooga Road, Columbus. Happens to be the jail.
Now, this is page 31, right?
No, I'm going to get to page 31.
Oh,
I'm talking about
yes.
Case number. I'm actually specifically on case number 1, which starts on page 25.
All right.
And then it goes to 26. Yeah, go to 26 to the bottom of the page.
Here we are. We're at 26 now. All right.
At that little chart at the bottom of the page. So so he comes back at 3900 Chattooga Road, which is the jail. You can't vote if you're a felon. Now,
okay, yeah.
Felons can get their right to vote back if they do all these steps and then take their paperwork into the elections office. and I hope they all do. Statistically, they don't. All right. But anyway, he goes back at the jail. Then he moves the next photo roll from 3900 Chattooga Road to 3900 Satellite Boulevard.
What?
So they took the street number,
The number
of the jail and attached it to the street name of where he used to live. All right. So we challenged him.
All right.
And then stupid Zach Manifold, who's the election supervisor in Gwinnett,
All right.
he altered the public records. He altered Jarvis. And then he sent, the letter is on page 27. He sent the elector.
That's a felony, by the way.
It's
the I am writing to acknowledge
11, something like that. Yeah.
OCGA or 21-2-229. Allows voter
So
registration.
anyway, so no, the 229 is the challenge.
Okay, yes.
I don't have it off the top of my head right now, but
I think it's in the 500s.
Okay.
But anyway, but it's also a federal. It's a federal crime as well.
Yeah. So
for altering an election record.
And he couldn't have done that by himself. The election supervisor has the ability in Jarvis to alter the database, so he had to have had that done centrally. Then he sends the county of the person that challenged Mr. Hickman and said he lives in Columbus, and I'm like, what? No, he's been in Gwinnett for the last 3 months. Okay, so anyway, so then I'm like, I wonder if there are more felons like this. So the next step, I searched for 3900 Chattooga Road. Oh my gosh, there were a ton.
Oh, really?
And then guess where they moved to? 3900 this, 3900 that. So now you can go to page whatever it was I told you before. Hang on.
Let's see here.
So I thought I watched Shawshank Redemption last night. I love that movie.
That's a great.
Okay. So I thought I had a bad warden like Shawshank Redemption. And I lost my earbud. And so then, because I found all these at that Columbus jail. No. Then I looked up like 12 jails around the state and compared it on the voter rolls. Look at this chart.
Macon.
So we got a jail at 200 Henry Street, Macon. And then they all go to 200 this, 200 that, 200 that. And then you got a jail at 100 Jim Hester. They go to 100 this.
Wow.
You see, it's a computer pattern.
Hamburg Drive, Darling Street, Savannah, Atlanta. Wow. College Park. Yep.
Yeah. Wow. So those are just examples, but you can see it's not one person. It's not one jail. It's a pattern. All right. And then what you need to know is after every election, they cancel tons of felons off the voter roll. In 2020. Oh, yeah. In 2020, for voting. Yeah. In 2020, a dude voted on November 3rd and was canceled on November 3rd as a felon. Oh, sure. And so, yeah, there's a whole pattern, a scheme to steal the identity of felons. And here's the really bad part, if that wasn't bad enough. Felons, hopefully, many times, want to get their life together after they've served their sentence or gotten in trouble or whatever. If they were to vote as a felon, they would get another felony. And they're innocent.
Oh my God.
And I remember it was either the December state election board meeting or the January, I can't remember which one. They drugged this man to the state election board.
Oh, yes. I remember this story.
And he voted, and they put him on that stand for the world to see. And he said, I got a precinct card. I thought it was okay for me to vote, and started crying
Right.
and promising he would never do it again. The bastards. He wouldn't have voted. They sent him
Right.
a precinct
They
card because
sent him
they had
the
done this.
information and said, go out and vote. Right.
Yeah.
Oh,
And then what they do is they drag in an example or two to make a spectacle of them.
man.
It's beyond.
It
It's
really
beyond.
is like just no. Oh my! I mean the depths of this, the 10 steps ahead, and all the manipulation that you see in here is just it's hard to wrap your mind
But
around.
this page 31, it don't take a smart person to see a pattern.
Exactly, and you just went and found what 12 more examples. Even if I mean, is anybody even reaching out to like focusing on these particular issues and saying, well, you found something, we need to fix this in the system? Are they even addressing something like this? Never mind the rest of it. But does anybody care about any facet of this that you're finding?
Well, who do I talk to?
I don't know, because it's falling on deaf
They're all
ears.
in on it.
We have judges, we have court cases, we have state attorneys.
Why don't we call the GOP?
Oh, Lord. Look.
I'm sorry.
No, I right. Dadgummit. I think we're missing her audio again. I'm checking.
Yeah, because I could hear her fine.
I can hear her fine too, but I'm constantly watching because she's having major technical issues on her end.
So I want to show everybody one other thing. I got to find the page. I know our time is getting long.
Yes.
Most of this front work was in the Supreme Court filing, and then we started doing 2024 work, which really made everybody nervous. You know, when you talk about 2020, everybody's like, wah, wah. Even though we have like 270 something thousand questionable votes, no big deal for 2020. And we have 2022 evidence as well in here. But I'm trying to find, do you see? I can't find the pages, and they usually stick out pretty good. Let's see. Hang on. There we go. Page 7.
Okay. Page 7 of tab 2, correct?
Yes.
All right, we're going to pull this up. We're still in tab 2. So let's go to page 7.
So 7, 8, and 9 is a summary of, we call it the Georgia Fraud Report. Our elections are an illusion. So this is a summary of the Georgia Nerd findings.
All right.
And there's some pretty nifty things in there. We've proven now. So Lori's proven that they've broken almost every election law around certification,
Federal law,
machines, the internet, and federal law, constitutional,
the ballots.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And then the nerds have uncovered them breaking every other law. HAVA, MVRA. I mean, one of the major manipulations we haven't talked about is, per Georgia law, you have to be registered to vote by the 5th Monday before the election. And it's publicized everywhere, including the AJC. You got to be registered to vote by such and such a date. But we've proven that they backdated registrations. And what do we mean by that? In 2020, the deadline to vote was October. The deadline to register to vote was October 5th.
Okay.
And we had an October file. And so everybody that was in that October file should be the ones that are eligible to vote. But in our November file, we found 9,700 new registrants with an October 5th or before date. So they packed the voter roll with a registration date as if it was there on October 5th, but it wasn't. And of the 9,700, I think the report says 3,200 cast a vote.
Wow.
So there's another 3,200 votes that are unlawful because they didn't exist on October 5th. They just made it look like they existed by October 5th.
Right.
Massive fraud.
Good.
Massive. And it's criminal because it's got intent.
Right. That is wild. All right.
Now we lost Lori. She'll come back.
She's here.
I'm here.
Oh, I can't see her.
Hang on before you talk because I got to turn one of your audios off. So you hang on. I'm telling you that we love Starlink, but man, I know we've had all kinds of crazy. Let's see, control audio. There we go. So all I got to do is turn off your browser audio. All right, now talk.
Okay.
Yes.
So I and the Starlink thing, I am not going to
can't hear
complain.
No, sure. You can't hear me?
I can hear you fine.
Okay.
I can hear you and Kim, but I guess she can't hear me.
Yeah, we're just having all kinds of technical difficulties with this. All right, go ahead and talk, Lori.
Okay, so I have Starlink as well because I live out in the
You
woods.
hear?
Yeah, I'm gonna let her talk while I'm gonna fix this. Go ahead.
Okay, so anyway, I am not going to complain about the slow or dropping service
Right.
because the reason is all of the Starlinks that Elon and Trump are delivering to the disaster areas
Yes.
are taking up a lot of the bandwidth on the Starlink satellites.
Yes.
So
that's true.
I'm perfectly willing to give up whatever I need to for those people to be able to have internet service. But that's the problem with that. But anyway, I wanted to let everybody know as well that one, these systems are not lawfully certified. They cannot be lawfully certified because the law states that not only can systems not be connected to the internet, the law states that they can't be able to connect to the internet. The EAC and HAVA determined that no voting system that has network cards are allowed to be used in our election systems. But Dominion, and it's not just Dominion, it's all of them, but the Dominion configuration that we have here in Georgia, if you back up and look at that configuration on Dominion's patent, it says that the components have network cards built into them for Wi-Fi or Ethernet connections. It says it right in there.
Right.
Also, the Dominion patent specifically states that these systems are set up for remote access. I mean, they're set up for remote access. So, I don't care what anybody tells you. If it's a closed network or if it's an air-gapped network, you cannot remotely access it. Right. There's no way possible you can remotely access it if it's air-gapped or a closed network. Okay, so besides that, so that right there actually voids the EAC certifications.
Right.
The fact that it's got the network cards built into it, they never should have been able to be certified.
Right.
Do you understand?
Oh yeah.
And I'm saying Pro V&B
Yes.
and SLI Gaming, which are the two vendors that are.
Crap. You still can't hear her now, Kim, can you? All right. Hopefully she'll jump back in. So we are having the issues, but she was just talking about how the Dominion voting systems weren't even supposed to be able to connect to the internet or the Ethernet, and the fact that they are, and that violates the law in the first place. So
yes, and that the components all have modems in them. I'm sure she said that too.
Okay, so
but then her
I can see
emails
you.
substantiate that they are all connected.
Yes. All right. Folks, yep. I hate this. I can hear both of you just fine. And now it's like it just keeps playing merry-go-round where one of us can't hear. So,
Yeah, because now I can't hear Kim.
right. So I want to work on that. So what we're going to do is we're going to get to we've got about let's say about 19 minutes left, and that'll be a solid 2 hours. And I'm going to continue to fix the audio. So I want to start with you, Kim, and just give me some of your final thoughts about the flash drive, and then just sum up your summary of the flash drive. And Laura, you're going to do the same thing, and then we'll do comments and we'll talk just very at the end about November. Okay, so just give us your overall about the flash drive and what you want to break home about.
Well, the flash drive has the 207 pages of evidence that we've gone over some of it tonight. And so when you have someone in your purview that says they don't believe the election was stolen, or it's not connected to the internet, or you want to give your legislator a hard time, we encourage you to buy one of those thumb drives. Give us a donation. You're not purchasing it. If you donate $10 or more, we'll mail you a thumb drive.
Mm-hmm.
The more than $10 goes towards our federal filing. We buy some ORR files in our voter rolls and things like that. Okay. And since then, the Georgia nerds continue to work. We were whacked pretty hard just over a month ago in August. And we're coming out of that. They can't stop us. The people that wanted to stop us can't stop us. Right. And so we're analyzing current files for the 11/5/2024. And I just bounced our canceled voter file against our late September voter roll. Is bad. We had like 8,000 people brought back on the voter roll that were purged due to not being around for 2 election cycles. Could they have woke back up? Maybe. Are they really just resurrecting a bunch of dead IDs? Probably. And there were thousands of felons put back on the voter roll. So they're prepping for the steal, and we're seeing it. And we're comparing things. And October 7th is the last day to register to vote. And so we're going to do that comparison again to watch them pack the voter roll after the deadline. We'll be doing that. We're comparing the absentee file with people that shouldn't be on the voter roll. And are you on the voter roll, but you got a ballot? We're doing all those things. We see patterns, so we kind of know where to look, but it's massive already. The heat is on. The foot is on the gas. And if you believe Brian Kemp made up with Donald Trump, I got swampland. Actually, sadly, we could sell you some water land in Georgia that wasn't swampy a couple of weeks ago. It's really sad.
Yes.
And where is Governor Kemp on that, by the way? We had people driving through Georgia yesterday, and they said it's horrific. And it's like, where is he? And what is he doing about it? So, yeah, I like to call on Governor Kemp. Where the hell are you, and why aren't you doing your job? And he's not doing his job when it pertains to elections. He's not doing his job when it comes to protecting the people of Georgia down there with that disaster. And he's not doing his job as far as he doesn't have his little pickup truck and his boots picking up illegal aliens. He's carting them in and making sanctuary cities, and people are getting crimes and murdered and so forth. So I call on Brian Kemp. Why don't you do your job? I love saying that. It's not even hard. But anyway, back to the thumb drive. We've gone over that. I've told you how to get it. I've told you what the nerds are doing through the election. Buckle up, get your ballot, and that's all I got.
All right, Lori, what about you? Okay. Mm.
Ballot. We're going to put a package together. Um, I'm echoing.
Yep, I am too. I'm trying to fix you, and it's not working. I do apologize. Let's see if that works. What about now? Try now.
All right, that's better. All right, so we're going to put a package together and get it out to people. You're going to have to work for it. Obviously, you're going to have to spend some time. There's not really that much work, but you're going to have to spend some time. But, if it's protecting your vote, then that's might be what we end up having to do.
Right.
And if we get 6 or 7 precincts, I'm not talking about counties. I'm
Mhm.
talking about your precinct. So if we get 6 or 7 precincts where the tabulator, or the cast vote records that print out, or the tabulator tapes that print out, are way off from what the actual hand counted votes are, then we can go ahead and file an emergency injunction to stop the Secretary of State and the governor from certifying the election.
Right.
Because all you have to have is those 6 or 7 precincts, and then to stop certifying the election until the entire state is hand counted off the original cast ballots.
Okay.
Because the hand count that Raffensperger said he did was fake, right? Everybody realizes that. It wasn't a real hand count.
Right.
We also
wasn't
have
a hand-
our emergency injunction in federal court. We'll see what the
That's
judge
right.
does there.
Yes.
Okay,
So we'll see what the
you
judge
two can
does
hear each
there.
other now, right?
Yes.
Okay. Wonderful. Jeez. All right.
Yes.
All right. So
Okay.
here's what
So
go ahead.
so then we have that federal filing as well. So, but we started out a couple months ago with Plan A, B, C, and D. So we still, the federal filing is Plan C, and then we have this other thing that we can do still, which is Plan D.
Okay.
But as a reminder
And
to everybody, the book. Oh, go ahead, Lauren.
No, go ahead.
The book was mailed
Mm-hmm. The book
to
was
those
mailed.
people. Those people.
Yeah.
If they so, what is it, Laurie? 18 U.S. 2382. If you know fraud is occurring and you do nothing about it, you can be accused of misprision of treason, and we mean it.
Yep. What we showed tonight was the flash drive. I actually donated to them, the Georgia Nerds, and I was able to get this flash drive. I've been going through it. It's got a plethora of information. And so we wanted to cover all of this information out here tonight with you to let you know that this is real. And just like Kim said, this has been mailed out. Everybody's got access to this. They can be home on a Sunday night just going through and reading this. And it's just another addition into so much information out there that has been disseminated for election integrity. So wonderful, wonderful job to you guys. And so we're going to go through some comments. So now that you guys can hear me, we're going to zip through these. David Smith said at the very beginning, it's 7 o'clock somewhere. And yeah, because we didn't get started until about 7:25. So yes, I do appreciate that comment. As you know, the best laid plans, it's so hard to do these without, we're just out here just trying our best. But Angela Rubino, hello, Patriots. She says hello to you. Zachary Brandenburg, hey, Roy, hello. And Commissioner Blake Ellsbury, hey, Roy, hello. It's good to have you guys with us tonight. Lisa Adams, wonderful patron out of Whitfield County. They'll keep doing it as long as we let them. And yeah, I think we can all agree to that. Wayne says hello to Lisa. Lisa says, hey, and Anthony Smattershoe, my man, it says, Dry DVS Corp 08 works every time. That's probably something for me. Yeah, I got you. Lisa says, reply. Well, I hope nobody saw that. That's supposed to be a secret password. Oh, never mind. Maybe we just gave out somebody's password online. I don't know. Let's see. Let me get down here. Don't forget. Oh, Andy Soha, good to have you. Said, don't forget Gabe Sterling's participation. Yeah, we definitely, you ladies covered that for sure. Lisa says, absolutely. We got an entire thumb drive of evidence with emails and everything, right? All right. Lisa says, Lisa says, Gabe Sterling sure does walk fast. And she also says, Worthless Burger walks fast too. I've seen the video. It's pretty funny. Anthony says, welcome home, sisters. Says, Andy Soha says, do not mail in your ballot. So the word's getting out. We have covered the safeguard your ballots. I think it's a great idea. In fact, I'm going down Monday to do that. Andy says it's shadow government, voter fraud. Those who have made it an art craft are continuing to violate the system. And if you think about it, it is kind of art and a craft. These people sit around in these backroom tables and just try to figure out ways to manipulate things. Michael Anthony from Pennsylvania. Hello, everyone. Hello to you. We're going to have Michael on the show very soon. Jennifer Jones Hilligus, thank you for coming in tonight. She says the system is beaming signals from satellites. I was a poll worker in a building that had zero internet, and the polling pad was beaming, and I took pictures of it to prove it and texted it to several people, and somehow those pictures are no longer on my phone, and the text that I sent of the pictures are gone. That's a big one. I mean, we covered that. We know these systems get on the internet, right? And she also says Kemp is a big liar, and she says Raffy will fake hand count votes again if he is given that opportunity. So, all right. Well, thanks everybody for the comments tonight. This has been an absolutely awesome show. And what I would like to end with, we've seen 2020. We've seen all the hard work. We didn't even talk about 2022, and I'm sure you know what I mean by that. We could probably talk a lot about 2022. Wow. Okay, got you. All right, so we're gonna our last little bit here. I'll start with Kim, and I want to know November 5th. What's your thoughts on November 5th? Just give me your bird's eye view. We can talk about Georgia, obviously. What are your thoughts? What are we going into? We have what, 35 days now, 34 days? What do you see us on November 5th? Yes.
I think Georgia's going to do everything they can to put Kamala Harris in the win bucket.
Wow.
I'm watching the foot on the gas. Lori says no. I do say that regardless of which candidate wins, there's going to be chaos in our country. It's just going to be which group is doing the chaos. And I don't relish what November looks like personally.
Right. And I think I want to just say this one thing. There is a misconception with having a show like this and talking about and engaging in election integrity, where it seems to give some sort of this false ammo to people who don't agree or believe in the things that we're presenting, that tells them we hurt the voting by talking about these things, dwelling on these things. I'm of the opinion that it's the exact opposite. The very presentation of tonight should make somebody vote at any cost whatsoever. It makes me, And I mean, I empathize with those people because a couple years ago I was so distraught. I was like, voting doesn't matter. Voting's stupid. This, but we've come so far and uncovered so much that it would be a shame not to participate, not to vote in this system, because that is your way of fighting these people, right? Do you guys agree?
So first off, the Georgia GOP likes to tell us to vote harder every cycle. And then if our candidate is not selected, they tell us we didn't vote. That's BS, and I'm sick of hearing it.
I've heard
now,
it as well.
We do need to get out. Every single one of us, every single American needs to get out and vote. The bigger the vote, the harder it is to cheat. And if they succeed in their cheating, the easier it is for people like me to see the cheat. So
Right.
You have to get out and vote. I just hope we gave some good advice tonight on how to secure your vote.
Yes, and we're going to continue to teach people. We've got more stuff. I don't know if you guys know who Mark Swanson is from Floyd County, but he's got some other things too. Floyd County was a huge disaster, but we won't get into it. But Lori, you give us your view on what do things look like at November the 5th here, Georgia? Where are we at?
Sure.
Right. And folks, if her audio didn't go through there, it's just a connection. We're recording this show, so I will find a way to put it out there. But we caught everything up until that last statement, Lori, but everything's popped up for some reason. This keeps going in and out. All right. Well, I guess this is going to sum it up. And listen, I just want to tell you how much I appreciate you getting with me. We continue to pray for everybody through the weather, this horrible, horrible hurricanes from all the way from the down in Florida to Georgia to North Carolina. I know we have more weather on the way. And we must keep those people in our thoughts and prayers and help where we can. I think I speak for all three of us. You know, we urge everybody to vote, participate in this election. It is an important election. And you need to safeguard your vote, as you no doubt know. This has been some very good information on how to do that. I request an absentee ballot. And man, I'm telling you what, you know, I've participated in voting early before and all these things. Guess what? I'm voting on election day, and I'm going to secure my absentee ballot the same way that we're being told. And I'm going to continue to encourage everybody, because this is going to be a wild ride. I mean, what a time to be alive. And I personally want to thank you and all the many people that have come on the show, and hopefully we'll be able to bring more on through. We're going to be focusing a lot on around the nation, from Pennsylvania to South Georgia to South Carolina. We're going to talk to people and see what they see. But I'm telling you, it's a little scary, but it's exciting to see what they're going to throw at us, you know. And I think with the Georgia nerds and so many good grassroots groups out there, it's gonna be damn hard to get anything by us. So, but ladies, I appreciate it. Anything else?
No, thank you for having us on your show.
Yes, it was a blast, and hopefully we can do it again. And I just appreciate it, folks. Appreciate y'all sticking with us as we go through this internet trying to figure it out. It was a success. I'll Rumble, YouTube, Facebook, and this is going out on X here in just a little bit. And you guys have a great evening.
legislature legalized unverifiable voting in 2000.
Like you said, to Trump, but they're getting beauty.
They said, go out there and rob these houses and bring back the bounty, and then that'll pay your way.
Because Republicans who get endorsement from Georgia carriers that they mean anything.
You can't sit on the sidelines any longer. You must get involved in the game. This is your sign.